Hello dear students, and welcome to this lecture on an interesting topic, dispersal of seeds and fruits in plants. You know, plants are generally sessile, yet their life cycle includes a mobile phase wherein generative propagules such as spores, seeds, fruits, or even complete plant carrying seeds, as well as vegetative propagules such as bulbs, shoots, runners, adventitious buds, rhizomes, etc., are transported over different distances on their own or with the help of different biotic and abiotic factors. The objective of the present lecture is to give students an opportunity to learn about fruit and seed dispersal and direct them to appropriate sources of information about the seed dispersal. The sequence of steps that we follow in this lecture is: we will first define what we mean by dispersal, then we will deliberate upon the importance of dispersal, subsequently we will come to the evolution of dispersal, and more importantly we will discuss vectors which are involved in this seed and fruit dispersal, followed by their types. First important question is what we mean by seed dispersal or fruit dispersal. Dispersal is defined as the movement of an organism away from its place of birth, mainly through its propagules, such as fruits and seeds in case of plants. Or in other words, it is the scattering of fruits and seeds to other places or their transfer from one place to another by themselves or by some external agencies. What makes this fruit and seed dispersal important is an interesting question. Seeds and fruit dispersal is currently of intense interest because of its critical importance for plant community dynamics, population structure, and vegetation response to various land use changes as well as the climate change. And dispersal of propagules, seeds and fruits particularly, mainly occurs to find new sites for establishment, safe sites where germination and further survival is likely to be guaranteed. And the importance of fruit and seed dispersal stems from the fact that this reduces competition between the parent plant and the seeds. Also, it reduces overcrowding. Third, it provides opportunities to spread the plant to new localities and expand its range. Then, seed dispersal is essential for the success of plant reproduction and adaptation as well. Germination and growth away from the mother plant allows opportunities to find advantageous areas to inhabit, in addition to avoiding the unfavorable conditions around the mother plant, such as inbreeding and sibling competition and so on. Moreover, it enables new plant seedlings to grow better. Evolution of seed dispersal is quite interesting. The origin of fruits of angiosperms particularly was a major evolutionary innovation that greatly enhanced seed dispersal efficiency and triggered rapid diversification of flowering plants. The seed dispersion pattern not only determines the potential area of plant recruitment, but also serves as a template for subsequent processes such as predation, competition, and mating. And there are numerous examples of very interesting co-evolutionary relationships between various plant species and their dispersal vectors. Seed dispersal can significantly contribute to species coexistence through trade-offs between colonization ability and other characters across species, and through the slowing of competitive exclusion when seeds fail to arrive. And dispersal also affects the rates of gene flow, hence influences genetic structure within and among populations. Studies have suggested that seed and fruit evolution was driven, at least in part, by dispersal agents. However, the actual spatial pattern of dispersal of seeds remains understudied so far, and little is known about the evolutionary forces that drew rapid diversification of seeds and fruit types. Now, very important aspect is which vectors are involved in the process of seed and fruit dispersal. Let me tell you, a large number of different means of dispersal of fruits and seeds needs a broad understanding of the vectors and the mechanisms involved. Vectors of the propagule transport can be grouped into three main types. Number one, autochory, wherein the dispersal of propagules is carried out by the plant itself. Second, allochory, where the plant exploits different means of transport, vectors such as wind, water, animals, and so on. And third is the allochory, where dispersal is inhibited by certain factors. Well, autochory so far is concerned, plants have evolved many mechanisms for self-dispersal, which ensure their spatial distribution in many ways. And we can group it into different types, such as barochory, that is transport via gravity, in which propagules transported via gravitational force or via gravity without any special aid, a mechanism that may result in distribution over a steep slope generally. And usually the highest density of seeds in this case of dispersal is reached near the mother plant, near the seed shade. Second is the blastochory, that is dispersal via runners. Propagules find suitable growing sites by growth processes, for example, through scions, that is the vegetative shoots, or pedicels, as you see in case of Cymbellaria muralis. Third type of autochory is herpochory, that is the short distance transport through active creeping, for example, in case of Trifolium stylatum, in which the awns are hygroscopic in nature and twist with changes in humidity, thereby dispersing propagules. Ballochory is another type, self-seeder, what is called also as, where propagules are propelled by a single impulse from the mother plant. The necessary impulse may be provided by factors such as wind, animals, or even a raindrop. A special type of this ballochory is autoballochory, where, however, a type of self-dispersal where no such impulse is required and pressure is produced either by differences in the turgor, for example, in case of Iqbalium elaterium, or drying fruits or seed cases themselves, for example, in case of Bauhinia purpurea. Such self-dispersal can involve an explosion of fruits sometimes also, which then throws the seeds away from the fruit itself. And examples of the plants that use this mechanism are what we call as squaring cucumber and the pea plants sometimes also. Gorse is a plant, Ulex europea, a very good example of this type. If you sit near this gorse or these gorse bushes on a hot day in a summer in Britain, it can be like sitting near a firing range, as the explosion or exploding pods sound almost like gunshots. So the small seeds are very effectively thrown away from the immediate areas. As the pod dries, tensions are set up in the wall of the pod, eventually causing it to split along two lines of weakness or sutures. As the two halves curl back, suddenly released like a tense spring, they flick out the seeds inside in an explosive manner, I mean to say. So these were the different types of autochory. Then another type of seed and fruit dispersal is the allochory, where dispersal is brought about by the external factors or agents. There are at least 4 different types of seed dispersal recognized on this basis. First, wind dispersal, what we also call as anemochory. Second, animal dispersal, when animals act as the vectors, called as zoochory also. Third, water dispersal, hydrochory, and dispersal by man, what we sometimes also call as hemerochory or anthropochory. Some plants use fruits to enable dispersal, while other plants can also use seeds and different other propagules as well. First, let's talk about anemochory, that is the wind dispersal. Wind is an important vector for allochoric seed or fruit dispersal. Plants have developed a number of different adaptations, either to help the seeds be released, very small light seeds I mean to say, or to help the seeds stay in the air for longer, thereby facilitating their transport to greater distances. Such adaptations usually involve hairs or outgrowths which increase the surface area to catch by the wind. Many examples can be cited. For example, pepper pod type, as you see in case of the red campion, where the flower ovary containing the seeds becomes a dry, hollow container with one or more openings. The containers are shaken by the wind, scattering the seeds through the opening, dispersing them all around the immediate areas. Second type is parachute type, as you see in case of the ragwort, where feathery hairs help the seed to float on the wind. They can often be carried long distances in this way. Another adaptation that plants have undertaken for this wind dispersal is what we call as winged type. Winged types of seeds, as you see in case of sycamore. Wing-like outgrowths on the fruit which contain the seed make it spin as it falls from the parent plant. This spinning delays its fall so that the wind may carry it some distance away. A very interesting mechanism. And you can of course see other examples around you. The next type is the zoochory, where dispersal is brought about by the animals. In evolutionary terms, zoochory represents the most important and ecologically most complex form of the dispersal. In fact, very close interrelationships between some specific plants and animal species reflect a long co-evolutionary development. Animals aid dispersal by either carrying the fruit or seeds on the outside of their bodies, or by eating them and passing them out with their droppings, what we also specially call as endochory. This way, seeds are not only transported, but after excretion, they are provided with a very fertile starting condition for germination in a relatively nutrient-rich excrement. Some birds eat the fruits and then throw away the seeds. Seeds or fruits carried on the surface of the animals often have hooks to attach it in the coat of the animals. Likewise, sticky bags and thistles are common examples of these types. Let me tell you here that birds, bats and ants are specifically attracted. Plants invest in nutrient-rich fruits and attract attention by striking colors or strong smells of the dispersal agents which carry out their dispersal. Plants such as burdock, members of biennial thistles in the genus Architium of the family Asteraceae, they have hooks to which the seed is attached. These hooks easily get caught in the fur of mammals as they pass by the plant. At some point, the seed will fall, often a considerable distance from the parent itself, and if conditions are right, the seed will germinate and grow into a new plant. In the autumn season, blackberries are a common sight in British woodlands. Reason is that the berries are eaten by birds such as blackbirds and pigeons. Mice, deer and even foxes also eat them. The small hard seed is hidden inside the fruit and passes through the gut of the animal as it cannot be digested. The seeds therefore are expelled in the droppings of the animal, and some seeds dispersed in this way cannot germinate unless they have passed through the digestive system of the animal. So interesting mechanism you can appreciate. Likewise, nuts such as hazelnuts and acorns also are distributed by animals and birds. Jays and they are conspicuous in the autumn as they collect acorns to tide them over the lean winter. They may be responsible also for the collection of several thousand acorns per bird. Not all the acorns will be eaten, some are left to germinate and produce new trees and ensuring their dispersal. Likewise, one more example very interesting is squirrels are famous for collecting nuts, not only of which will they eat or they will be eaten, some will be even forgotten by the squirrels to eat and they will be left to germinate later. Usually the seed dispersal adaptations that plants undertake collectively constitute what we call as seed dispersal syndromes. Many types of syndromes you can come across in the plant world. Now, water dispersal. Water is also an important vector to plant dispersal, and flowing waters, in fact, especially of streams and rivers, they act as effective corridors for propagule dispersal. The seeds or fruits are dropped from the plant into the river or the lakes or the seas, and they, being less dense than water, float, and some of them can germinate if on being washed up and on the land and carried, the conditions are favorable there. Plants such as pond iris, for example, grow in or near the fresh water. The seed pods break open when they are ripe. Those which fall into the water, they float away. The seeds may be dispersed long distances in this way, and they can either germinate in water or when they become stranded on a mud, they also rejuvenate germination. A very special type of dispersal is what we call as hemerochory or anthropochory also. Dispersal brought about by man. Man can play, and in fact has played, an important and exceptionally important role, I must say, in the recent history of plant distribution, carrying propagules, seeds and fruits especially, to long distances, overcoming all geographical or ecological barriers. Sometimes the plants are intentionally transported to different regions for various reasons such as food or ornamental purposes, what we also sometimes call as ethylochory, and sometimes it occurs unintentionally along with other propagules or vectors, for example, weed seeds in case of cereal crops, what we also call as spirochory. An outcome of this anthropogenic seed and fruit dispersal is the burgeonic plant invasions, which is in fact a burning problem. Many non-native plants take over the native landscapes and outcompete the native plants and lead to the biotic homogenization. And one of the important components of this change is the man itself. or himself. Last one type of this dispersal is what we call as allochoric. It's also called as achory and is a special form of distribution from an evolutionary perspective, I mean to say, because dispersal is prevented, due to which production, or the reproduction takes place at the site where mother plant grows, which is a favorable site for that particular species. Best examples you can cite are Arachis hypogea or Trifolium subterraneum. In these cases, what happens is that after pollination, pedicel and ovary penetrate into the ground and lead to the germination of the plant itself again. It's important to note here that plant species do not use often one form of seed dispersal alone. Instead, different strategies or forms may complement or supplement each other to ensure and safeguard better dispersal. To conclude with, in the present lecture, we understood what we mean by dispersal of seeds and fruits and how many possible vectors and mechanisms play a key role in this process of seed and fruit dispersal. We also learned that since the origin of fruits of angiosperms, many major co-evolutionary innovations greatly enhanced the seed dispersal efficiency and in fact triggered rapid diversification of the plant world. In view of the importance of seed and fruit dispersal for plant community dynamics, population structure and vegetation response to various land use changes, especially the climate change as I mentioned earlier on, I think the objective of the lecture, that is to stimulate interest amongst students in this topic through relevant anecdotes and examples, is duly fulfilled. With this, I take your leave now. Goodbye.